Hey, you're out in the garage with TheEZGZ. Made that video on these pulleys yesterday and I left something out. I was picking up my mess, putting things away, and I came over here and I noticed that this belt was at the top of the pulley, and I loosened it up, and not only that, it was bent. There was a wobble here. So I thought, well, I got all this stuff out, I might as well do this. And I thought, oh man, I forgot to mention how important those washers and shims are. I had a chrome pulley that one part of it was trash, and you got to watch the little half moon key that's in here. It's really small, and there is a key on that shaft. And I don't know, this one was kind of weird. It had a it was a welded hub. Yeah, this one right here. Look where the hub was welded to that. A lot of times they don't bother doing that. They just give you a hub like this. And this is what happens if you don't have the proper tension, or they're made out of this soft Chinese metal. They wear out. They get those grooves in. Once they get those grooves in and you start getting movement and vibration, then they just you can't keep them tight. And I lost a nut out on the sand dunes. I was the farthest you could get away from camp up in Idaho. I was, what did they call that? Melon Point. And I pulled up to a stop and I shut my engine off and I heard this clink. And I thought, oh, that sounds metallic. What was that? And I get out, and my pulley and everything just popped off and was laying there in the sand. I thought, shit. And you've got to have, this is a mistake that a lot of guys make. These are the little shims that you use to change the belt tension on these things. Now, you've got your you've got your inner and you've got your outer. This goes on the inside for the big cooling fan on the inside of the fan shroud, and then this is what captures it. That's kind of a crazy thing. This is pretty high torque. You always worried that, man, that's going to break off, but it never does. Oh, here's another one of those washers. A spacer, not a washer. And here's one of those little half moon keys I was talking about. Don't lose that. Here's another setup. See how I end up with all this stuff? I think what happens, you know, you're placing an order and you think you might need something, or you just went on a trip and you had trouble with something and you got to order parts to fix it, and you got to pay that darn shipping charge. And so you want to avoid paying that freight charge. A lot of places, when they run their specials, it's like over $100 is free shipping and different things like that. But my mind is just all jumbled up. I'm all over the map, just like usual. So, isn't that an ugly one? And this is a bad fit. But I seem to remember that you're supposed to have like 11 of these things or 9 of these things. Some guys will just put a few shims in there, just enough to get the nut on. I think they're more worried about how many threads they've got left on the back of it. And what happens, and this is another reason why you damage those chrome aftermarket pulleys, your nut feels like it's getting tight, but what it's done is run out of threads. If you have all 11 shims, it's a combination of what's inside and outside. Maybe you only have, you know, 1 shim or 3 shims on the inside to get the proper belt tension. It spreads this apart. Now, I've got quite a few of them in there because you can tell the pulley's running down deep, and I wanted to make sure that it was true, and this wasn't the standard pulley, but it was something that I had. And the old pulley still worked, but I think there might have been some slippage on there. And so I took it off, and I've got it stashed behind my side panels over here. I'll probably take some wire ties and stick it on something. But this is a great place to put coats and tools and drinks and sandwiches and stuff. Plus I got the tool tray here in the back. And so rather than throw this away, it's not broken. You can see where the side of it is glazed, where this thing was wearing. But, you know, that's a giveaway. That's something. Somebody says, hey, you got a belt? Mine's broken or something. Or you meet somebody out there on the trail and they ran into a branch and screwed theirs up. It's like, yeah, here you go. And it's a used one, so no big deal, you know. Pass it on. So you've got to keep all of those shims in there. If you want to go to a chrome nut, you can see here on this engine here, I made it all pretty. I didn't used to like these, but lately I've been getting them, and these things work pretty darn good, actually. I've put them on a couple of different cars. But you still want to keep that 10 or 11 shims. You don't want to get in a situation where the nut's bottoming out and there's still a space in there, because this thing will wobble, and that's what eggs out the hub and leads to more problems, okay? So I wanted to make that point, and I had started up the car, but I wanted to show you something else here too. I have a starter switch on my dashboard within arm's reach when I'm buckled into the car in case I kill the engine, but I also like to have one here on the back of the car, and this does not go to the ignition switch. This is like a hot wire jamming a screwdriver by the starting motor. It's just back here at the back of the car. And I recently found out a little trick, and I didn't know that the starter would do it. I was out alone in my car in the sand dunes, and I got myself buried in a hole, and I thought, oh man, I'm gonna have to flag somebody down and have them yank me out. And this guy stopped on a quad, and he says, I was waving at him, and he come by, and he says, need some help? And I says, yeah, I'm stuck. I says, you got any friends? I got a strap. I just need to get out of this hole. And he says, you'll be fine. My dad's got one of these pieces of junk. He says, I know how he does it. Let me show you. And he says, just turn the ignition off and put it in gear and hit the key or hit the starting motor. And I says, I don't have a very big battery. I says, he's just try it. And he was standing back here, couldn't have been more than 150 pounds. And I hit the starter, and the engine was not running. I tried to do it with it running. I was trying to be easy on the clutch, and it just, but it just walked right out of that hole. So simple. And I thought, man, that's a good trick. And he said, yeah, my dad's had one of these things forever, and that's what he taught me to do. And I said, well, your dad's a smart dude. Thank you very much. So I just had this running because I was checking the pulley. And then I wanted to run it for a while, let the belt seat in there. And then I just snugged it up and I grabbed the camera. And so it's not really a cold start, but I love the sound of it, and I wanted to show you the starter switch back here and talk about those washers underneath the fan, and just listen to my buggy. And I haven't had it running for quite a while, and these carbs, I mean, listen to it. It's nice, slow idle, and it revs up nice and clean. So I thought maybe since it's running so good, we'd take the carburetors off. How does that sound? That's what you do for your car, right? You know, when everything's running good, start taking stuff apart, right? Well, these aren't the carbs that came on this engine when I bought this car. These carbs are, right here. These are 45 Dellortos, and when I went and looked at this car, you can see these upper Venturis, these for the mains up here, the secondary Venturis. The ones on the passenger side were gone. And the guy started telling me the story how the carburetor caught on fire and he was driving it and it wasn't running real good. And these guys were trying to catch him and tell him, shut it off, your carburetor's on fire. And it burnt up the air cleaner, and I think it got hot enough it actually melted the Venturis down there. So I had to take it apart, and I took these Venturis out, and I ordered what they call spray bars it's an update kit from CB Performance. They now make them for Webers as well, and I'd heard about those, but I never tried them, so I thought since we got this time on our hands that we would just try to get these carbs squared away, and lot of you guys seem to think bigger is better, so we're gonna, I know how sweet, these are 40 Dellortos. I know how sweet they run. So let's put some 45s on here, and then we'll, I'll make a separate video of that. I'm just kind of talking about the car and what I'm doing today, and I'm going to try to post something up every day here or something. I shouldn't commit myself to that because sure enough, I'm staying home, being a good boy, and the sun finally popped out. It was raining last night, but man, I need a fix. I wish there was some kind of a field or some place to go play around here. So anyhow, I hope you're having a great day. I hope you don't mind my babbling. Here's a little thing I do on my air cleaners. Take a piece of bicycle inner tube, and you know, a lot of guys like to use the star washers, and they'll use those roofing washers with the rubber cups. I think when you buy them, they come with those. I got some of those around here too, but I just do it this way, and it keeps my wing nuts from coming off. And then I put my outerwears on there, and they're making these outerwears better all the time. In the old days, it used to be this thin stuff, and they'd get a hole from those wing nuts on top. Now they have smartened up, and they put this other material on here that's thicker, and it doesn't do that. So isn't this grand? I hear an airplane. You hear an airplane? Alright guys, sun's going down, I'm getting tired. Go and fix me something to eat and post this video up. How's that sound? So if you don't mind me babbling, give me a big thumbs up, and we'll just have some fun out here in the garage next for as long as it takes. Get me organized. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subbing. TheEZGZ out. God bless us all. God bless America. God bless the world.